She votes against fair pay for women. She votes against the reauthorization of the Violence Against Women Act, which is just basically protecting us from domestic abuse and stalking.
Yeah, Taylor really said that in her Netflix documentary, no less. And now, Karoline Leavitt is threatening to sue her for defamation. Taylor thought she was just speaking her truth, but apparently, those words hit harder than expected. What started as a moment in a doc is spiraling into lawsuits, headlines, and political drama. So how did things get this messy, this fast? Let's break it down. The confrontation. Let me tell you something. We're witnessing what might just be the most explosive political confrontation of 2025. In the blue corner, we have global superstar Taylor Swift, who's transformed from America's apolitical sweetheart to one of the most influential progressive voices in American culture. And in the red corner, none other than Karoline Leavitt, the youngest White House press secretary in American history and one of Donald Trump's most loyal defenders. This isn't just celebrity drama. This represents the perfect collision of entertainment, politics, and the bitter cultural divide that defines America in 2025. Let's break down exactly how we got here, because this story has more layers than Swift's folklore album. Taylor Swift's journey from political silence to progressive megaphone has been nothing short of remarkable. For years, she maintained strict political neutrality, influenced by the backlash against the Dixie Chicks in 2003. But everything changed in 2018 when she finally broke her silence. What happened? Well, a perfect storm of personal and political events. Her 2015 sexual assault trial against DJ David Mueller served as a catalyst, pushing her toward political involvement. But it was the 2016 election and its aftermath that truly transformed Swift from silent observer to vocal advocate. In October 2018, Swift made her first major political endorsement via Instagram, supporting Tennessee Democrats Phil Bredesen and Jim Cooper while criticizing Republican Marsha Blackburn. The impact was immediate and stunning. 169,000 voter registrations within 48 hours, a stark increase from the previous month.
I just want to read you what I wrote, and I'm going to try to start. I just really want you to know that this is important to me.
I
this
totally
is something
agree
that,
with the issue.
But it's what Swift said about Blackburn that set the stage for our current drama. In her Netflix documentary, Swift didn't mince words. The reaction was swift, pun absolutely intended. Donald Trump's response? He liked her music about 25% less after her endorsement, but this was just the beginning of Swift's political awakening. Fast forward to 2020, and Swift's advocacy reached new heights. She endorsed Joe Biden and Kamala Harris for the presidency, creating what critics have called the Taylor Swift effect on voter engagement. Her actions consistently boosted voter registration, particularly among young voters. In 2023 alone, her Instagram post on National Voter Registration Day led to a staggering 35,000 new registrations, a 23% overall increase, and an astonishing 115% increase among 18-year-olds. And then came 2024, when Swift made perhaps her boldest political move yet, endorsing Kamala Harris and Tim Walz against Donald Trump. This endorsement, which came after the infamous debate where Trump's performance was widely criticized, sparked a firestorm of controversy. Conservative commentator Megyn Kelly didn't hold back in her criticism, delivering a blistering critique on her SiriusXM show.
Taylor Swift just endorsed Kamala Harris. Taylor Swift, yeah, she posts a picture of herself with her cat. Would you look at this? You can,
Of course.
I'm like, you can kiss your sails to the Republican audience goodbye, Taylor. Hope you enjoyed them while you had them.
Kelly's criticism got even more pointed. Candace Owens joined the criticism, branding Swift a radical feminist and the most toxic feminist that has ever existed. The backlash extended beyond media personalities to the highest levels of government. Enter Karoline Leavitt, the 27-year-old press secretary whose meteoric rise through Republican politics has been nothing short of remarkable. Leavitt's career is inextricably linked to Donald Trump. She worked in his first administration, served as communications director for Reverend Elise Stefanik, and ran for Congress in New Hampshire's 1st District, where she lost to incumbent Democrat Chris Pappas. Trump endorsed her during her primary, posting on X, "Amazing job by Karoline Leavitt in her great New Hampshire victory. Against all odds, she did it, and will have an even greater victory on November 8th. Wonderful energy and wisdom." After her loss, Trump reportedly told her, "They cheated you out of it. I'm so glad they cheated you out of the election because now you're with me." That special relationship led to her appointment as White House press secretary in January 2025, making her the youngest person ever to hold that position. Leavitt's press secretary style can be described as combative, to put it mildly. She's become known for her confrontational approach to the media, controlling press access in ways that have raised eyebrows across Washington. Just listen to this exchange with CNN's Caitlin Collins.
Now been asked and answered this question 3 times by the both of you, and I've given you my answer. The president feels the same today as he did yesterday. Phil,
on my follow-up on what you had just said.
Go ahead, Philip.
Caitlin,
I'm not taking your follow-up.
I have a follow-up on something you just said, though, Caroline. That's
Caitlin,
regarding
I'm not
Jeffrey
taking your follow-up. Philip, go ahead. I've called on you.
This confrontational style isn't limited to press briefings. Leavitt barred the Associated Press from Oval Office access over a naming dispute, seized control of the White House press pool, and has welcomed right-wing influencers like Tim Pool into briefings, while limiting access for traditional media. But perhaps most relevant to our current story is Leavitt's willingness to make controversial claims without evidence. During her first briefing in January 2025, she claimed that 50 million taxpayer dollars were spent on condoms in Gaza, a statement that was later thoroughly debunked by fact-checkers. This pattern of making dubious claims without evidence would become relevant as tensions with SWIFT escalated. The stage was set for a collision between these two powerful figures, one a global superstar using her platform to advocate for progressive causes, the other a rising political star dedicating her career to advancing Trump's agenda. The flashpoint came when SWIFT, during a concert in Washington, D.C. last month, made comments about the Trump administration's policies on LGBTQ+ rights, women's reproductive freedom, and environmental protections. SWIFT reportedly told the crowd that the administration was systematically dismantling human rights and claimed that Leavitt had repeatedly lied to the American people about the impact of these policies. Leavitt didn't take these comments lying down. In a press statement that sent shockwaves through both political and entertainment circles, she accused SWIFT of making false and defamatory statements and threatened legal action if SWIFT didn't issue a retraction. Ms. SWIFT has a platform that reaches millions of impressionable young Americans, Leavitt's statement read. With that platform comes responsibility. Spreading falsehoods about this administration and about me personally crosses a line from political opinion to actual defamation, and we are prepared to pursue legal remedies if necessary. The gauntlet had been thrown down. Two of the most powerful women in their respective spheres were now locked in a public battle that perfectly encapsulated America's bitter cultural divide. But to fully understand the significance of this confrontation, we need to examine the stark ideological differences between SWIFT and Leavitt, differences that extend far beyond personality clashes to fundamental disagreements about America's core values. The ideological battleground. The confrontation between Taylor Swift and Karoline Leavitt isn't just a clash of personalities, it's a collision of fundamentally different worldviews that represent America's deepening political divide. Their disagreements span virtually every major political issue, from abortion rights to climate change to LGBTQ+ equality. Let's start with abortion, perhaps the most divisive issue in American politics today. Swift has consistently supported reproductive rights, framing it as a matter of women's autonomy. She expressed dismay at the rollback of reproductive rights following the 2016 election, and her endorsements have consistently favored candidates who champion abortion access. Leavitt, in stark contrast, is staunchly pro-life. During her 2022 congressional campaign, she made her position crystal clear. It is not about women's reproductive rights. It is not about women's health. It is about life and protecting it. She celebrated the Supreme Court's 2022 overturning of Roe v. Wade and has advocated for further restrictions on abortion access. This fundamental disagreement reflects broader tensions in American society, tensions that have only intensified following Trump's return to the White House and the administration's efforts to limit abortion access nationwide. Gun control represents another major flashpoint. Swift has been a vocal advocate for stricter gun regulations, particularly following mass shootings. In 2018, she endorsed candidates who supported gun reform and donated to March for Our Lives, the youth-led movement that emerged after the Parkland tragedy. Her 2020 song, Only the Young, directly addresses gun violence, urging political action to address the epidemic. Leavitt, true to her conservative credentials, is a staunch defender of Second Amendment rights. Her 2022 congressional campaign featured a gun shoot event at the Londonderry Fish and Game Club, attended by pro-gun Republican figures like Representative Lauren Boebert. She's explicitly opposed red flag laws, which allow for temporary removal of firearms from individuals deemed dangerous. Her social media presence frequently emphasizes her support for gun rights, including a provocative X post captioned "Joe Biden, come and take it," featuring a video of her at a firing range. Climate change policy further illustrates their divergent worldviews. Swift has incorporated environmental themes into her music and has made efforts to reduce the carbon footprint of her massive world tours. In 2024, she publicly supported the Inflation Inflation Reduction Act, which includes significant funding for climate initiatives. Leavitt, meanwhile, has dismissed climate change as a manufactured crisis and opposed the Inflation Reduction Act as wasteful spending. The League of Conservation Voters Victory Fund named her one of the Dirty Dozen candidates in 2022 for her environmental record. She's even advocated for eliminating the Department of Energy, which oversees climate and energy policies. Perhaps no issue better illustrates the ideological gulf between Swift and Leavitt than LGBTQ+ rights. Swift has been a strong ally to the LGBTQ+ community, with her 2019 song You Need to Calm Down explicitly advocating for equality. She's donated to organizations like Gilead and used her platform to criticize anti-LGBTQ+ legislation. Leavitt, on the other hand, has aligned herself with policies that limit LGBTQ+ rights, particularly transgender protections. She's been described by LGBTQ advocacy groups as a leading voice in the Trump administration's war on LGBTQ+ rights, echoing Trump's rhetoric on transgender issues. During her campaign, she expressed concerns about diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives in schools, including those supporting LGBTQ+ students. These stark differences help explain why Swift's criticisms of the administration struck such a nerve with Leavitt. The press secretary's threat of legal action isn't just about defending her reputation. It's about protecting the administration's policy agenda from one of its most influential critics. But there's another layer to this story that deserves attention: the remarkable influence that both women wield within their respective spheres. Swift's political evolution has given her extraordinary influence over voter engagement, particularly among young Americans. When she endorsed Democratic candidates in 2018, voter registrations spiked dramatically. Her Instagram post on National Voter Registration Day in 2023 led to 35,000 new registrations, a 23% overall increase, and an astounding 115% increase among 18-year-olds. The formation of Swifties for Kamala in 2024 targeted college students in swing states, amplifying her influence in the presidential election. This political clout hasn't gone unnoticed by politicians worldwide. Leaders from Canada's Justin Trudeau to the UK's Keir Starmer have acknowledged her impact. The EU Vice President even requested her help boosting turnout for the 2024 European Parliament election. Her fan base has been compared to a voting bloc, with 37% of American voters holding a favorable view of Swift and 10% identifying as Swifties, a group that skews Democratic. Leavitt's influence, while different in nature, is equally significant. As White House press secretary, she controls the flow of information from the administration to the public. Her decisions about media access, the framing of administration policies, and which questions to answer or ignore shape public perception of the Trump presidency. Her combative style has earned her both ardent supporters and fierce critics. To Trump loyalists, she's a fearless defender of the president against a hostile media. To critics, she represents the administration's antagonistic relationship with the press and its casual relationship with factual accuracy. This brings us to the heart of the current controversy: Leavitt's legal threat against Swift. The press secretary claims that Swift's comments about the administration lying to the American people constitutes defamation, a serious accusation that would require proving Swift knowingly made false statements with malicious intent. Legal experts have generally been skeptical of Leavitt's threat. Defamation cases involving public figures face extremely high legal hurdles in the United States, particularly when the statements involve matters of public concern. Swift's criticisms, while harsh, fall well within the bounds of protected political speech. So why would Leavitt make this threat if legal action is unlikely to succeed? The answer lies in the political dynamics at play. For Leavitt and the Trump administration, Swift represents a particularly dangerous form of opposition. She's not a traditional political figure who can be dismissed as partisan. Her massive, diverse fan base gives her criticisms a reach and credibility that typical political opponents lack. By threatening legal action, Leavitt aims to intimidate Swift and potentially make her think twice before making similar comments in the future. For Swift, meanwhile, Leavitt's threat represents exactly the kind of political bullying she's increasingly spoken out against. Rather than backing down, she's likely to see this as confirmation of her criticisms about the administration's approach to dissent and free speech. The conflict also highlights the unique challenges women face in the public sphere. Both Swift and Leavitt have faced gendered criticism throughout their careers. Swift for being too political or not political enough, Leavitt for her combative style and youth. Their dispute has been characterized by some commentators in ways that reduce serious policy disagreements to a petty catfight, a framing that neither woman would appreciate. As the dispute continues to unfold, one thing is clear: this isn't just about two high-profile women butting heads. It's about fundamental questions of political speech, accountability, and the role of celebrities in our democratic process. But to fully understand the significance of this confrontation, we need to examine the broader backlash that both women have faced for their political stances, backlash that reveals deep fissures in American political culture. The backlash and broader implications. The confrontation between Taylor Swift and Karoline Leavitt hasn't occurred in a vacuum. Both women have faced intense backlash for their political stances, backlash that illuminates the bitter polarization of American politics in 2025. Swift's journey from political silence to progressive advocacy has made her a lightning rod for conservative criticism. When she first endorsed Democratic candidates in 2018, the reaction from the right was immediate and fierce. Critics online slut-shamed and berated her, claiming she had ended her career and should shut up and stick to music. Even Donald Trump weighed in, stating he now liked Swift's music about 25% less. White supremacists, who had previously claimed Swift as their Aryan goddess, due to her silence, expressed particular disappointment, feeling she had turned her back on them. By 2024, the backlash had evolved into full-blown conspiracy theories, with right-wing figures claiming Swift was a Pentagon asset intended to influence the presidential election by endorsing Democratic candidates. Megyn Kelly's criticism of Swift's Harris endorsement captured the intensity of this backlash. On her SiriusXM show in September 2024, Kelly warned Swift that she could kiss your sales to the Republican audience goodbye, called her an elite snob, and used particularly strong language to express her disapproval. Candace Owens joined the chorus of criticism, branding Swift a radical feminist in response to her perceived influence on gender politics. In February 2024, Owens went even further, calling Swift the most toxic feminist that has ever existed in an X post, criticizing her influence on young women. Swift has also faced criticism for not commenting on the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, particularly following the Gaza war in 2023, and for her private jet usage, which some critics have characterized as environmentally irresponsible despite her climate advocacy. Leavitt, meanwhile, has faced her own form of backlash, though from different quarters. As a young woman in a high-profile position traditionally held by older men, she's faced scrutiny over her qualifications and criticism of her combative style. Her defense of controversial Trump policies, like his pardon of January 6th rioters, has drawn particular fire from Democrats and media commentators. Her tenure has been marked by controversies, including barring the Associated Press from Oval Office access over a naming dispute, making a false claim about funding for condoms in Gaza, and defending Trump's tariff policies as a tax cut despite economic debates. Her involvement with Project 2025, a right-wing policy initiative backed by the Heritage Foundation, has also drawn criticism, particularly since she previously denied any connection to the project. Even her fashion choices have become fodder for criticism. On April 17, 2025, Leavitt faced online backlash for wearing a dress with lace made in China, highlighted by Chinese envoy Zhang Jishun on X, who noted the irony amid U.S.-China trade tensions sparked by Trump's tariffs. The backlash faced by both women reveals something important about American political culture. Women in the public eye face intense scrutiny regardless of their political alignment. Whether progressive celebrity or conservative press secretary, both Swift and Leavitt have had their appearance, tone, and qualifications questioned in ways that male counterparts often avoid. Their confrontation also highlights the evolving role of celebrities in American politics. Swift's political evolution mirrors broader trends among entertainment figures who increasingly see silence on political issues as complicity. Her massive influence, particularly among young voters, has made her endorsements a significant factor in electoral politics. This influence hasn't gone unnoticed by political strategists. A top Republican legal operative was caught on tape expressing concern about Gen Z voting as a big problem and urging efforts to combat youth turnout, exactly the demographic most influenced by figures like Swift. The Swifties for Kamala group in 2024, which featured Carole King in a kickoff call, and collaborated with Voters of Tomorrow to target young, white, suburban, Democratic-leaning fans, demonstrated the political potential of Swift's fan base. Leavitt's response to Swift, threatening legal action rather than engaging with her criticisms substantively, reflects the Trump administration's broader approach to dissent. By framing political criticism as potential defamation, Leavitt attempts to shift the conversation from policy disagreements to legal questions, potentially chilling similar speech from others. This strategy mirrors other efforts by the administration to control information flow from restricting press access to promoting alternative media sources more sympathetic to Trump's agenda. Leavitt has welcomed right-wing influencers like Tim Pool into White House briefings while limiting access for traditional media outlets, a move that reinforces ideological bubbles and undermines shared facts. The confrontation also raises important questions about truth and accountability in American politics. Swift's criticism of the administration for lying to the American people touches on a fundamental issue. How do we determine truth in an era of information silos and alternative facts? Leavitt's history of making dubious claims without evidence, like her assertion about Gaza funding, complicates her position in this dispute. If public figures can make unsubstantiated claims without consequence, how can they then claim defamation when others characterize those claims as lies? These questions extend beyond this specific confrontation to the heart of America's democratic process. A functioning democracy requires some shared understanding of facts and good faith debate about policies. When truth itself becomes partisan, the foundation of democratic governance weakens. As this confrontation continues to unfold, its implications stretch far beyond a celebrity feud or political spat. It's about the boundaries of political speech, the influence of cultural figures in our democracy, and the growing challenge of maintaining a fact-based public discourse. What's certain is that neither Swift nor Leavitt is likely to back down. Swift has demonstrated remarkable resilience in the face of criticism throughout her career, from industry sexism to public feuds with other celebrities. Her political advocacy has only grown stronger in response to backlash. Leavitt, meanwhile, has built her career on unwavering loyalty to Trump and his agenda. Backing down from a confrontation with one of the administration's most prominent critics would undermine her brand as a fierce defender of the president. So what comes next? Legal experts generally agree that Leavitt's defamation threat is unlikely to result in actual litigation. The legal barriers to such a case succeeding would be enormous, and the discovery process could potentially expose administration communications that officials would prefer to keep private. More likely, this confrontation will continue to play out in the court of public opinion. Swift may address the threat in future music or social media posts, turning Leavitt's intimidation attempt into fuel for further criticism. Leavitt will likely continue to condemn Swift's comments in press briefings and interviews, framing her as an out-of-touch celebrity without understanding of real policy issues. The real impact, however, will be felt in how this confrontation influences other celebrities and public figures considering political speech. If Swift emerges unscathed despite Leavitt's threats, it may embolden others to speak out. If the administration escalates its response, some may think twice before criticizing powerful government officials. What's clear is that this confrontation represents more than a passing celebrity scandal. It's a crystallization of America's political and cultural divides in 2025, a perfect storm of celebrity influence, political polarization, and battles over truth and democratic norms. As we continue to follow this developing story, we're witnessing not just a clash between two influential women, but a struggle for the soul of American public discourse. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed watching this video, click on one of the boxes playing on your screen to watch more similar content.